I had a rough day yesterday, and I was wondering why some days seem more intense, pressurized than other days. Well, yesterday was one of those days, and then I watched Martin's video this morning. I'm thinking, yeah, well, that's just it. Christ is being formed in us right now. We are already being snatched away in the sense that everything in the world is just growing dim, 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 and things are just dropping off in the sense of this world, as far as that is concerned. Like, we're not interested anymore, and that's how I felt yesterday. I just said, I'm not interested anymore in anything that's here. It's like I don't feel like I don't feel like the rest of humanity. Like, my wife was talking about planning this and planning that for the summer yesterday, and saying, well, she's going to fix up the yard and this. But it was like dim. It was like, it just didn't even feel like anything. It was almost like I was dead in the water. And that's how I felt yesterday. And I think that's just it. We're being prepared already to be snatched away. And that was a beautiful video that Martin put out this morning. It reconfirmed the fact that, yes, something awesome and amazing is happening within each one of us. God is changing us. Christ is being formed in us. We are already being taken out of this world while we are still here, if that makes any sense to you. But it's how I felt yesterday, already being taken out of the world and still in it. I'm just like amazed that I wake up every day on this planet. But that's part in the process of where we're going to, and our expectation that we're coming into, the glory that we're coming into. I'm going to finish up the conduct of mankind here today, and then we're going to get into the justification part of it. But yeah, thank you for joining me. I may seem like I'm in a somber mood, but yeah, the heaviness and the pressure of this world is just too much some days, and yesterday was one of those days for sure. Welcome to the show. All right, the conduct of mankind. It would almost seem from the preceding argument that the advantages enjoyed by the Jews brought them no real benefit. But this seems to be true only of those who disbelieved and abused the advantages accorded to them. Those of faith among them received untold benefit, like their father Abraham. The greatest treasure in all the world was once the exclusive possession of the Jews. To them were confided the oracles of God. Today, we, who in that day had no revelation from God, are entrusted with the same treasure, yet with the jewels infinitely more precious than were ever in their care. This epistle is one of them, the epistle to the Romans. Have we anything like a true sense of our responsibility? Have we explored and enjoyed these treasures in any measure as they deserve? May God grant that the present attempt to open this treasure house is to all his saints, from the highest to the humblest, may lead to a greater appreciation of the infinite value of this sacred deposit. The painful contrast between the fearful failures of his people and his holy law had one good effect. It magnified his righteousness. Failure actually magnifies his righteousness. It gives glory to God when we fail, because then we know wholeheartedly that it's God who is operating the universe, not us. The question arises whether, since their unrighteousness commends his righteousness, he has the right to be indignant at it. Indeed, we might add, since all sin is the foil for his glory, how can he condemn it? But how then can there be any judgment at all? That God is able to bring good out of evil is no excuse for the commission of evil, far less an incentive to do evil. In the judgment, there will be no privileged class. Religious Jews, as well as cultured Greeks, are all under sin. The proof of this for the Jews is found in the very oracles in which they boast. These passages are all quoted in support of the charge that the Jew, equally with those of the other nations, is subject to the judgment of God. The whole quotation is taken from the Septuagint of Psalm chapter 14, verses 2 through 3, except that it begins, "The Lord out of heaven stoops over the sons of mankind to perceive if they are understanding or seeking out God." And as you know, no one is seeking out God, not even one. It's God's approach present. He comes to us. He gives us belief. We have the faith of Jesus Christ, and that is portioned out, measured out to each one. The passages from the Psalms might be turned by the Jews to apply to the nations, but the apostle rightly insists that what is written in the law is binding upon those under law, having previously silenced the non-Jew and now effectually included the Jew in the same condition. Paul arrives at the grand conclusion of this section of the epistle that the whole world is subject to the just verdict of God. And that ends that part, the conduct of mankind, at the beginning of Romans. Tomorrow we'll get into justification. I'm still not feeling the greatest today, but that's fine. I bring you a show and I bring the truth the best way that God has graced me to do so. And it is God's words, not mine. You may hear me stumble over words sometimes, but that's okay. It's what God is bringing to you through this show. That's the most important part. So grace and peace. Have a wonderful Monday, and we will see you tomorrow.